Hello and welcome to another prediction video. This one we're just doing the playoffs though. I'm not going to go game by game again. Um anyway, so these are the records I have for each team. Each division, as you can tell, is really close this season. A lot of tight games, like as you can tell, the Colts and the Jags really comes down to week 18. If I pick the Jags, they're in. Colts, they're in. So that's really close. Same with the AFC North. Even the Browns too. I had the Browns going 9-8. So switch some things around. If the Browns win this game, actually every single team in the AFC North is in the playoffs. Um, so that's kind of crazy. I just trust the Browns defense. I'm that much of a believer in their defense. Um, I also they had the best draft as well, so that's also why I have them at such a high record. Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers all have a chance to get in as well. Bills, Patriots battling. So realistically, any team except for the Titans, Raiders, Dolphins, Jets had a chance at making the playoffs. Um, then same with the NFC even. Rams, Seahawks, Niners all in the playoffs. Bears, Vikings, Lions, Packers are all over 500. Commanders, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants almost all over 500. The Giants just barely missed out. And then Bucks, Saints at 9-8. So really tight year this year. I think that means that's how you know that the schedules were made good. Anyway, moving on to the playoff. Bills, Bengals. Um, an unfortunate matchup for the Bills in the wild card. I feel like the Bengals offense is just too explosive. The Bills don't really have that much on offense. They don't have the greatest receiver core. Josh Allen, you can argue, is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. I wouldn't disagree with that, but at the same time, Joe Burrow just has more players, better players on offense than Josh Allen does. I like James Cook, but that's about it. Defense wise, the Bengals gotten much better, so I'm going to trust the Bengals to get it done. Broncos Steelers is a very interesting matchup. I like the Steelers offense this year. I like Michael Pittman. I like DK Metcalf. Aaron Rodgers is a little old. I feel like the Broncos are going to get it done. I kind of mentioned it last video that I don't like Denver's offense as much this year. I think they're going to slow down, but I don't like Aaron Rodgers against Denver's defense. I feel like they're going to eat him alive. So I'm going to take Denver at home. And then Ravens, Colts. Bit of a tough matchup for the Colts having to go to Baltimore. I like the Colts this season though. Colts Jags really a toss up for the playoffs. If it was the Jags, I feel like it would be the same outcome. Having to go to Baltimore is rough. Um, but the Colts, a lot of people are sleeping on the Colts this year, but they still have a good roster. If they could have just gotten a higher seed, they probably could have done more. Moving on to the NFC, Bucks, Seahawks. I do like the Bucks this year. I like Ruben Bain Jr. Their offense stays relatively the same, but I feel like Seattle's still the defending champs. They'll find a way to get it done. Commanders, Niners. I feel like the Commanders' defense isn't. They did just pick up Sonny Styles. Um, the Commanders' defense isn't going to be the greatest. Jaden Daniels coming off breaking his arm probably isn't going to be as good. But as you can tell, I did have them winning division, so I do think that they'll get a little bit back into form. But playing the Niners defense in the wild card's pretty rough. I could see an upset here though. But with Jaden Daniels coming straight off injuries, I'm not gonna predict that to happen. And then Bears Vikings. Kind of the same thing with Colts Ravens. Tough matchup for the Vikings having to play the Bears. So moving on to the divisional round, Broncos Ravens. I feel like like I said, the Broncos offense, I like the Jalen Waddle addition, but still don't have a proven running back. Their defense is holding them together. I like Denver's defense more than I like the Ravens' defense, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be enough. You have to have a complete team. Even Seattle had a pretty complete team because Seattle's offense was still good. Their defense was just better. Speaking of good defenses, Houston, I think, is going to get the job done there. This matchup, I feel like, is kind of inevitable. I feel like the Bengals will have the best offense. The Texans will have the best defense. And as proven last year by Seattle, defense matters more than offense. I feel like Houston's going to get it done. Niners, Rams, really, these matchups are hard to choose. It could really go either way. Both these teams are kind of, they've been in this NFC championship, NFC divisional. They've basically been in the playoffs every year. So sooner or later, a rebuild's going to be inevitable for these two teams. So it's really just who wants it more. I'm going to side with the home team here, but I could see the Niners pulling it off. And then Seattle and Chicago. I feel like the Bears are going to get it done this year. I know I was just talking about Seattle and their defense, but I do really like the Bears offense, and I feel like they should have probably beaten the Rams in the divisional last year, but they just couldn't quite get it done. But at home, I like their chances a lot more. And then Texans, Ravens, kind of what I mentioned before. I'm going to take Houston. The Ravens just can't quite get over that hump. Unfortunately, I'm going to trust the number one defense in the league. And then Chicago and LA. I'll take the Bears. I feel like the Bears in the upset, they should have beaten the Rams last year in the playoffs. They'll get revenge. So then we have a pretty fun matchup. Bears, Texans, Super Bowl. I feel like if CJ Stroud plays good, they are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. At least they should be. Chicago, I really like their head coach. I'm actually going to pick the Bears to win the Super Bowl. I'm kind of surprised I had this pick too, but as good as Houston's offense is, I feel like the Bears are a more complete team, and I can't completely trust CJ Stroud. I trust CJ Stroud to make it to the Super Bowl, but in the Super Bowl, in the biggest game of his life, I feel like he has some choking problems, and I feel like his defense can't take him all the way there. And like I said, the Bears remind me of Seattle last year. They have a more well-rounded, complete team. Not to say I do like Houston's offense. I do like Tank Dell and Nico Collins, but I like Caleb Williams a little bit more. So I'm actually going to take Chicago.